Hey guys, Palsteron here. And today let's talk about the newly beta release of Torchlight Infinite. So some of you might have noticed that I was kind of gone through the last 2 weeks. I haven't really posted anything, and that's for good reason. I've been pretty much just completely enamored by this game. But since this game doesn't really fit the normal mold of Diablo, Path of Exile, right, this gritty type of ARPG, I think it needs a little bit more looking at and explaining why I like this game so much and why a lot of people in my community like it so much. Talk about what I liked, talk about what I didn't like. We're going to talk about monetization as well. We're going to talk about misinformation. Also, this game is made by a studio called XD. I just want to straight up say this is not a sponsored video. I don't have any stake in you playing this game or not. These are just going to be my unfiltered thoughts. At the same deal as a lot of streamers where you basically have this 2-hour sponsored stream and then you kind of go on with your day. And I was pretty much sure, looking at this game, that I would just be playing for 2 hours and I'm out. Thank you for the check. Let's move on. But yeah, it came a lot differently, so that's why I made this video. We'll go a little bit more in depth. I've now played this game for around about 150 hours. I did not play this game in beta or alpha, whatever it was. This is the first time I kind of got exposed to this. So I currently have 150 Steam hours. I get pretty obsessed with these games if I like them. So a little bit of a background. Let's start. Now, before I go into what I liked, I want to quickly go over what this game is all about, the very, very basics, just really shortly. I'm not going to take too much of your time. First up, there is characters in this game with hero traits. It's more akin to League of Legends in terms of heroes. It's not really classes. So, for example, if we pick our character, the Berserker Rehan, you will see here that he has Rage and he has certain hero traits attached to him. And you unlock them with levels. There is currently 5 starter characters that you can start with, which is Rehan, which is your melee class. You have Carino, which is your ranged class. You have a very curly space-time witness Yuga. He's kind of like a weird illusionist that basically makes a copy of himself. You have the minion dude, you have Commander Moto. The minions in this game are mostly mechs, and you also have the mage, sort of mage class with cold and fire, Gemma. There's also other classes like Oracle Thea, which you can get with the bot Paddle Pass, as well as that there's a second version of, I think, Carino, which you have to buy, and there's also a second version of Yuga, which you can only farm, you can't buy. Then let's get to the character customization. We have our normal equipment here, right, as you would know it from ARPGs, and you already see the first problem that I have with this build, which is the UI. We're going to go into that in the stuff I did not like. Overall, just pretty much not too much to talk about. You have your info here. One thing you will see with this game is it actually tells you a lot about your character without being too obscure. Literally everything you want to know it will actually tell you, other than some other games that need third-party stuff. But let's get a little bit more into the talent tree and the customization, which I think is awesome in this game. So you can have 3 talent trees in this game. There's basically your main class. It's not really main class, but you have to pick one of these goddesses. Knowledge, Hunting, Might, War, Darkness, Machines. You pick one of them, and then it's here. That's your first talent tree. We're going to talk about that in a second. But all you have to know is, for example, since I took Goddess of Knowledge, now I can, as my second class, pick one of my subclasses, right? So that can either be Magister, Arcanist, or Spirit Caller. And after I did that, for example, I went for Spirit Caller, which is my second tree. For the third tree, you can pick whatever you want, which gives you a lot of freedom and character customization. I want to quickly say also that just because I'm a mage doesn't mean I would have to start with Goddess of Knowledge. From the get-go, you can start on any character with whatever you want. There's obviously things that are recommended to you, but that does not mean that you have to go that route. Actually, on some of the better characters in this game, you will go your own ways. Now, inside these talent trees, you will see that there's 2 things up here. These are talents, and you can pick 1 out of 3 times 2. It will tell you here after 10 levels and after 20 levels in this passive tree, you can pick one of these talents. And for the extended one, so for the second and the third one, it's 18 and 36. And these talents basically are very, very strong. They kind of determine how you play. So for example, this one gives -5 enemy cold res, stacking up to 8 times. This can be up to 40% more damage, which obviously will have a huge influence over what you want to go for. And inside this tree, you have all the usual stuff that you would think you have. You have life, damage, attack speed, cast speed, critical strike rating, stuff like that. One thing this game really does not lack is it gives you a lot of chance to get stuff like area of effect, projectile speed. This game does not want you to be slow. It wants you to be bombastic, and it wants you to abuse the system, so to say. Now, the further we go into these trees, the stronger, obviously, the passives go. For example, here we have +1 level. We have focus stacks, which you don't have to really know about, mana reservation, stuff like that. Same thing basically goes for this. I'm not going to go into this too deep. Now, depending on what hero you went with, for example, here I went with Thea. I got certain hero perks that you unlock at certain levels. For example, here I am basically revolving around focus blessings. You don't really have to know what that means. All you have to know here is that you can select certain hero traits, and these decisions are actually quite crazy. So these hero abilities aren't just like small things. Some of them can completely change how your build looks. If you work around them, you can like double or sometimes even triple your damage. So understanding these hero talents is really, really cool, and it's another avenue to customize your character. And then we also have the pact system, which basically revolves around these pets, which have different abilities. These are just more character customization. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but there's basically a lot of stuff that you can customize in this game. Now, there's also a skill system, which basically works kind of similar to Path of Exile, but kind of doesn't. So you have an energy bar right here, and your items get more and more energy the more you level up and the higher item level your items are, and that basically gives you the ability to link certain skills. But unlike in Path of Exile, where you have to link stuff yourself, you can completely decide how you want to distribute your links. So for example, as you can see up here, the first link costs me nothing, so I can have a 2 link for free. The next one costs me 10 energy, the one after 15, but if I want to have higher links, it has to be 50 and 100. So it's very, very expensive to juice out your skills. So what you basically do is your main skills, you're going to try and give as many supports as possible. Supports, of course, either give you extra effect to your skill or other things. Basically, this is a very, very clever system because it kind of gets around the frustration of having to get these links while tying it into your character customization and your gearing. Now, let's start off with what I liked. First up, the gameplay. The gameplay in this game is just incredibly responsive, incredibly fluid. I'm going to quickly show you kind of what this game feels like in terms of gameplay. This game is really, really fast-paced, so I would kind of say it's sort of like Path of Exile before Headhunter got nerfed. You can just really, really pop off. This is currently a cast on crit build. I'll talk about this more. This game is very much inspired by Path of Exile. A lot of stuff copied, a lot of stuff that I actually really, really like. So as you can see here, I'm basically just jumping around, proccing ice novas on top of enemies that then proliferate to other enemies. So that's basically what's happening right here. Now, I would show you slower gameplay, but this is basically very, very end game. I already decked out my character. So we go to the boss right here. We just destroy him. Now, this is very, very end game-ish gameplay. I can show you here. If it was like a Blizzard build that just started out, this would kind of feel like it. I already have very, very expensive gear, so maybe not the best showcase. I just want to tell you where you can get to in this game if you grind enough. Also, there is bosses in this game, so overall, the gameplay, I don't know, it just feels extremely good. It's incredibly addicting. I don't know what else to say. It's basically just something you have to play yourself. The game is free, like I said. But yeah. Second up, the character customization. Now, this game has a ton of character customization, and that might be very, very intimidating for a lot of people. It was for me as well. But it all starts with sort of the talent tree, which I already talked about. You have one main class, then one subclass that you can choose, and then the third one you can choose whatever. You can go completely rogue. For example, I guess you guys can see here, I'm actually pairing a mage with a ranger because it just makes sense. You can make some weird combos, and I just really, really like this system. And you can really feel that this game knows what it's doing. The math kind of works. I don't know how to say this, but there's nothing that feels kind of off-putting or that feels overpowered. Obviously, some of them need to be rebalanced, but overall, it seems like they know what they're doing. They have a lot of influence from Path of Exile, even when it comes to these stats, clever decisions made. I really like the talent system. One thing I really love about this game's customization as well is until level 80, everything you redo here is free. So until level 80, I can redo all my passive points, all 100 passive points, and choose completely new classes. So it kind of tells you, okay, get into the game, experiment a little bit around, but before you get to end game, please choose what you want to do. But as a lot of people will tell you who've played this game a lot, these are basically these are the respec points, and I just have infinite of them. I don't know where to put them, so I could respec this character, I don't know, 90 times over, and if I wanted to, I could buy even more. Like one of these gives me another 100 respec points, so it's like, yeah, you're never gonna run out of them. You can basically customize and try out stuff however you choose, which I really like because we all make mistakes. When it comes to hero traits, these are actually huge. These are basically like milestones where you can decide how you want to shape your character. So for example, here at level 80, there is probably the biggest decision for this character in particular. You can either scale double damage and transform it into quadruple damage, with focus blessings, or you can go another route. It still has to do with focus blessings, but you can scale other blessings and they count as focus blessings, so to say. It's a little bit more complicated, but basically what I want to say is these are to flesh out your character, to give you sort of a direction, and each one of these is very, very important. But as always, you can always respect them whenever you want. And then we have the pet section, which we're going to talk about later in the pay to win section. TLDR, it's not as bad as you think it is, but it still needs to be talked about. So in terms of character customization, awesome game. Let's talk about the crafting system. Now, the crafting in this game is actually awesome, and I'll show you why. This game really likes to give you options and to not brick your stuff. So crafting is one of those things, right? So a lot of crafting systems, like for example in PoE, there's a lot of gambling involved. In this game, obviously it's also gamble, there's percentages, but it doesn't brick your item. It's sort of like Harvest used to be in Path of Exile, but a little bit more in depth actually. So let's go over it. When we look at this short blade, let's say I want to craft this, it tells you how much empty affixes and postfixes, which is basically suffixes, it has. It tells you exactly what is here. And if you click on affix list, it tells you exactly the percentages of everything, what can roll. As somebody who's played Path of Exile for so long and always has to go to like wiki pages to figure everything out, this game gives you everything, like absolutely everything. It tells you the percentages, it tells you what it can roll, like to the brink of it. So number one, that's already a big boon. But the way the system operates is, so let's say, for example, that on this short blade, I want spell fire damage. So now we have the crafting things here that we need. We see exactly how many we have, and we press craft. Now, if we don't want the outcome here, we can just click back and confirm the left side, and we're back to normal. So this doesn't commit us. We craft again, and we say, oh, spell lightning damage. We want that. Confirm. Our item has the option. So basically, this rolls out of all of these affixes, and you basically roll over and over again until you get the one you want. Not only do you need the one you want, you also want to obviously get good tiers. It tells you all of them here, even required item level, everything. You can't really do much wrong here, and the customization is pretty deep. So these are essences. They're like currencies which can apply certain stats. It tells you here, right? You go to the next essence. Oh, maybe I want some elemental damage. Then I have to use this one. You go down, and there's some really, really expensive ones. Up to the end where there's certain embers that you can only use if you already have a fully crafted item. But remember, it cannot brick your item. So what this will do is it will remove a mod and add a mod, and that will be a huge mod. And these are pretty expensive, but it can never brick your item because you can always choose the left part where you just go back to normal and you try again. So this game does not punish you. Also, let's talk about the corruption system. Now, the corruption system is really, really interesting. This is sort of like a Val Orb in Path of Exile, where you basically put your item in and you just, I don't know, let's just put one of these uniques in. I don't really care about this one. Let's corrode it. I need to use some of this, confirm. And now we have a chance for some of these outcomes. In this case, it chose the implicit. So now I changed my implicit. So I got an excellent implicit on the item, confirm, and that's what happened. So there's an outcome where you change the implicit. There's an outcome where you basically randomize all the affixes. This one upgrades, which is huge. I'm going to tell you about that in a second. And this basically doesn't do anything. Now, what this game doesn't do is it doesn't brick your items. It doesn't destroy your items. It doesn't want to do that. Also, you can double corrupt your items. This is basically a currency that you find. It is very rare, though. So then you can get up to 2 upgrades. And there's actually some pretty crazy stuff that can happen with these corruptions. It's not just your stats go up a little. For example, this is the item that I'm using for my cast on crit build. And down here, you can see that I corrupted this on. So this item is usually... Down here, it has a downside of minus 32% damage to extra triggered skills because it gives you so many triggers, there has to be a downside. Well, if you hit this as a corrosion, instead you actually deal more damage. There's also items that revolve around you corrupting them, otherwise they don't even work. For example, check out this pistol here, which gives you added physical damage per dexterity, added lightning damage per dexterity, but then it says cannot deal physical and unable to deal lightning damage. So completely bricking whatever this does, but you can corrupt it and you can actually transform this into something positive, or maybe even double corrupt both of these, and then it just deals massive amount of damage. And I guess that's a perfect segue into the auction house already. So we have the trade house here. Now, if you're a Path of Exile player and you're used to third-party websites where you have like 10 tabs open, this game has an in-game auction house. And I'm not going to pretend like this in-game auction house is perfect. The search characters are kind of weird. It's like case sensitive. For example, if I want to find the Warcry helmet, I have to capitalize the W, otherwise it doesn't find it, right? There's some weird-ass bugs right now, which I think should be reworked. But overall, I just cannot help but find this so refreshing. Before I go to sleep, I can put up all the stuff I want to sell. I wake up, I get all the cash. It's honestly glorious. Now, if you're coming from different games and you always have this, I mean, take this with a grain of salt. I'm a PoE player. The trading system in Path of Exile is absolute dog shit. So this here is just wonderful. It's wonderful. And they will rework this over time. It's definitely not perfect. It's not even that great. It's still just so convenient. And then there is the quality of life in this game. So as a Path of Exile player, quality of life is usually taken hostage and getting sprinkled like over the leagues. This game really doesn't do that. For example, there is an in-game loot filter, right? And it's not perfect, but it is there. It's really nice. There's also auto loot, and this will auto loot basically everything other than rares, very unique drops that you actually want to see that you have them. But all the small currency, for example, in Path of Exile, like Orb of Transmutation, Scrolls, stuff like that, all get auto-picked up by your pet. And this used to be behind a paywall, but it isn't anymore. That's a lot of misinformation out there. Currently, this is basically, you get this for free on the free Battle Pass. However, there is also a paid option on the paid Battle Pass, which I think loots some more stuff. I don't really know. I didn't really feel a difference. I did buy the Battle Pass after, obviously, I liked the game. But basically, it will be there regardless whether you are free to play or you paid. Now then, I already talked about this, but I have to emphasize this again. How huge this is, that there's affix lists. There's exact percentages for tiers. Everything is listed here. If you want to craft an item, you know exactly what to do. You exactly know your odds. There's nothing mysterious about it. It's awesome. I don't have to go to a wiki page to demystify stuff, right? If I corrode, I see exactly what it does and the percentages of it, right? So I never go into something blind. It's awesome. You can also buy inventory space with in-game currency down here, one row at a time. And it just makes your inventory huge. You never really have to portal out. If you're somebody who wants to pick up more stuff, that's awesome. Also, all the currencies are not in your stash tab. So if you look at my stash tab right here, usually you would think that's not a lot of space, right? You get 2 on average, and you can actually purchase, we're going to talk about that later, you can purchase them with in-game currency, which is cool. But you would think this is not a lot of space, but all the currencies are already in your inventory right here. There's different tabs for them. So there's no fragments, no currencies cluttering up your stash tabs. It's wonderful. Also, as someone who loves tinkering, just being able to respec until level 80 completely for free, and basically the respec points being so cheap and so easy to get, is also just really pleasing. Another really nice feature in this game is that you, for example, let's say an item is over there and you click on it, your character doesn't run there to pick it up. It just gets picked up, right? It kind of gets soaked in, which is really fun. As well as that, you can allocate a button like to loot. So if I run here, I can just press A, run over it, and it's gonna get picked up. This on top of auto loot just makes the game feel so much better. And whereas a lot of games are really afraid of systems like this because it makes the game, I don't know, too easy, no weight or whatever, I really enjoyed it. But that's too much positive talk. Let's talk about what I didn't like about this game. First up, the UI is terrible. This is a PC port, and it really shows. Now, what I've heard from is that that's one of the first things they want to address, but I still have to include it here because as of this recording, it's not fixed. The tabs are very mobile-y. So if you go to telemetry here, there's no hover over. Whenever I have this as my next point actually, I think. But this really needs search bars and hover overs. If you hover over an item on the ground, it doesn't do anything. I guess you can hover over here. That's about the only thing that you can do. But there's just so many minor details that you have in every single other PC game that you never really think about it, right? Like, why wouldn't it show me what this does if I hover over? Why wouldn't this show me, right? Why wouldn't an item show me what it does if I hover over on the ground? It's so self-explanatory, but it's kind of missing in this game. You have to click on it and then it tells you, which is really weird. It's extra clicks for no reason. I really don't like it. It also just looks so clumsy, right? Also, these animations, it can take forever, right? Your skill system, I don't know. It doesn't seem right. It seems clunky to me. You also have to always have to go into these loading screens. Then you go into these completely crazy menus that have no search tab. Like, how am I supposed to find my skill? Now I kind of know what they look like, but at the start I was just scrolling through without any idea. So this kind of feeds into my next point. This needs more search bars. It's crazy that it doesn't have it. Hover overs, search bars, stuff like this right here, right? XP and DPS, that doesn't have to be here. You could just make it so you hover over this XP bar and you show it. There's so much space lost on the screen. It's really annoying. Also, one thing I want to mention is if you're a Path of Exile player, you will miss this a lot. your mini-map you cannot have as an overlay, because if you have it as an overlay, you can't move. So that's really weird. I don't know if they're going to address that, but you have to look a little bit on the side, which can be really annoying. I now kind of accustomed to it, but for the first 5 to 10 hours, it was a lot of learning. And then we have weird difficulty curves and power specs. So this game is very, very spiky when it comes to talents up here, which are basically more multipliers if you choose them correctly, and also your hero traits. So at these like level marks, you will get such a huge power spike. For example, most builds that I've played so far, when they get to level 80, straight up double your damage, or their damage like even skyrockets into something, or just transforms into something completely else. Same at 62, by the way. And there's this awkward curve where you stop with the campaign at around about level 55 to 57, and you have these 5 levels where you get into maps and you kind of feel weak. And until you get to 62, you realize, oh, now I'm on track again. So that's kind of weird. And you have the same point at kind of like level 70, 75, where you start to feel weak, and then you get at 80. So it's just not as smooth as I would like it to be. Maybe that's not that big of a deal for you, but it sort of was for me. And I think this could kind of like scare away a lot of more casual players. Also, just in terms of balance, this game is really weirdly balanced. For example, there's a cyclone skill, right? Whirlwind, whatever you call it. They have it in every APRG. And it's just so insane. Like, I have no idea how this got through testing. I'm not sure what's happening right here, but I heard it was nerfed, and nerfed before that. I have no idea. I really hope they kind of turn this around, because there is a lot of skills to choose from. But at the start, Whirlwind kind of like was just better than anything else. Maybe at the time you watch this, it's already different. It's kind of weird. It kind of made me not want to play Whirlwind, and then I played a different class. It wasn't as good. Kind of weird. I don't know. Also, the translation is pretty unclear at times. It really shows that it's not English first. There's like random dots missing, right? Like this is supposed to be a sentence. There's random like mistakes, like actual grammar mistakes, stuff like that, which is really weird. There's some things that are the same, but they're like worded differently. So this has to kind of get in line, because as somebody who likes to make builds, it's very confusing at times. I don't even know what certain things really do. Oh yeah, I almost forgot this, but the dialogue and the story in this game is kind of cringy. I kind of turned it off immediately. For me personally, that's not a deal breaker. I play RPGs for like the longevity, for like the systems, for the builds, for slaying monsters. I don't really care about what my characters say. I don't really care about the story. I turned it all off, and if you're somebody like me, I would say do that immediately, because this game is definitely, I didn't like it. Let's just put it that way. Maybe you like it. If that's a deal breaker for you, you definitely don't want to play this game. It's a lot more goofy and less like dark and gritty. And these are all kind of small annoyances that you won't really see at the start that much. But when you play this more and more, and you get more fluent with the game, you feel like these UIs are really holding you back. They're really kind of stealing a lot of your time. So just know that. Overall, I would say the systems, the gameplay, super fun, whereas everything around it needs a lot of work. Now let's talk about pay to win. In order to tell you whether this game is pay to win, we'll have to go through the shop and see for ourselves, because straight up, people have different opinions about what pay to win actually means. Some people think pay for convenience is fine. Some people think even that is pay to win. Some people think that if you buy character power, that's fine as long as it's not a PvP game. For me personally, if a game forces me into a paywall at any point, I'm out. It doesn't matter how good your gameplay is. I am out. I don't care. This is because of obviously psychology, but I don't want to be forced to pay to progress. In a perfect world, I would like there to be no pay to win at all. Just basically like Path of Exile does it, with like some convenience stuff like stash tabs, also have like cosmetics. I don't even care about, it's obviously ridiculous prices for Path of Exile, but I actually don't care. As long as it doesn't affect my item hunt, it doesn't affect my character strength, I'm in on it. I understand that these companies have to make money, but at the same time, as soon as we get into, I don't know, buying items from the auction house, which this game does not have, by the way, we'll get into this in a second. Everything here you can get by farming only, and that is very, very near and dear to me, because if I put in time, I don't want to think about, oh, should I get a second job? Would I get more items? So this is just to set the ground rules. Second thing I would say is that if you see this UI here, even Path of Exile has a button right here where it says shop, like immersion, right? There is a shop button right here. Games do this. This game actually does not, which is kind of weird. It has pop-ups when you enter the game, but during the campaign, it never says, oh, pay this for easier campaign or anything. Never at any point. So maybe that's on the mobile version, I don't know, but it is not on the PC version. I actually did not even find the shop at first. It's here. But let's go through what I think is bad about this monetization and what I think is fine. Now, before we go into this, I did some research. I was really surprised by some of the really harsh pushback for the monetization. I didn't really understand because it didn't seem that bad to me, especially like Lost Ark is one of the biggest games, and this game isn't as bad as Lost Ark, for example. I just don't understand. And I kind of found out that this game had a lot more predatory monetization, and they changed it over time. For example, what they had is this was a loot box system. The hero traits you get at your hero was a loot box. I don't even know how that looked like. I don't even want to know. They had some other stuff with like content creators that they didn't inform. Then those content creators made videos about this game is not pay to win, not knowing about these loot boxes. They kind of reverted it. I think it was kind of like a new adjustment to the Western market. They never really engaged in that, as I understand it. So pretty scummy. I really like that they turned it around because the game is a lot of fun. So first up, there's a season pass, which I actually purchased. It's this one down here. There's a free one up here, which you get auto loot at. Here, which is, I guess, the most important thing. I think level 15, yeah. Here, I didn't really feel a difference from normal auto loot to upgraded auto loot. I'm not really sure. The one thing why I bought the battle pass was because you get this hero here, which was really cool. Other than that, it costed me $15. I was like, whatever. I enjoyed the game. That's fine. Not too predatory for me. It's like a quest system, right? You get free stuff every day. Overall, fine with me. But let's open the shop. So, season pass, no problem. But there's some stuff in the shop that I don't like. So, first up, there is this hero right here, which I also bought. I think this one was $10, if I remember correctly. So this hero you bought is, I guess it's like, if you're coming from League of Legends, you're like, who cares? But other games, you would be like, that's kind of weird. As for account, I hate that they did this because this makes it seem like you have to pay for regret points. I just showed you earlier, I have like thousands of these in my inventory. I don't know if this is here for like bait or something. I have no idea why they want to make a bad name for this trash. You never need to buy these, ever. I don't know. The revival tokens, you get so many, it doesn't even matter. They don't even work after level 96, I think. So just weird decision, I think. But yeah, you can pay these, I guess. I don't know. Skill tabs, right? You can expand your inventory. You can either do this. So this is basically the free currency, and this is the paid currency. They kind of look the same, but you can buy stash tabs, you can extend your inventory, stuff like that. Otherwise, you can also extend your booth. So in the trading house, you can buy these booths right here to list more items. So far, other than this weird choice to use this, not too much. Hero shop, this one you can actually not buy. You can only get with in-game currency, as far as I understand it. Sorry if it's not true. I just farmed this one. You get him basically for free. It's pretty cool. And then we get to the packed spirit shop, which is the real offender. So this is where we get into the gacha system of this game. You can purchase pets and you can purchase cosmetics. And these are in loot boxes, which is one of the things I hate the most because it preys on people's instincts and people's weaknesses with gambling. And this is something that is in PoE as well that I absolutely hate, so I don't want to come across as a hypocrite. I've always said this, I absolutely hate it. Now, the problem is, so cosmetics, okay, I will never purchase them, who cares? But pets do actually matter for your character. I want to point out that they're actually not as big as some people make it out to be. You cannot double your damage or triple your damage. They're going to be basically min-maxing. So just to point this out, you can buy these with in-game currency as well, and you start out with 10 pets on your account. What some people do is they remake accounts until they get a legendary pet. I don't know about that. I actually got pretty lucky and I drew one in my first 10. But overall, you get pets. So it's not like you don't get pets. And this tree here has points whether you have a pet or not. But these pets affect what these points do. So for example, I think this is the normal point, minus 1.5. And if you switch it, this is the one you get from this pet. It would be mana regeneration this rate. There's better ones, there's worse ones for your build. Legendary pets also affect what some of these outers do. So for example, this note here, you get from a legendary pet. Overall, these do affect your character. They're pretty minor in the whole grand scheme of things, and I'm not 100% sure why they chose to monetize this. Because straight up, some of these pets look terrible, and they're also not even that strong. So if you would put pay to win into your game and get a bad rap for it, which this game definitely did, then I don't understand. Like, it's so minor. Either go all out or just remove it. But like, I'm not here to criticize whatever. I hate this. I don't know why this is in the game. Despite of it, I still really like it. You don't even have to really do much in the pack system. Everything else is just so much more impactful to your character. So I kind of forgive it because it's just so fun, but it's definitely a big downside, I would say, for the game. Now, what's really important to me is that this is not hidden behind any money. You cannot buy any of these items. You cannot buy any. There's no like WoW gold. There's no like, oh, I'm going to convert it to this currency and then I'm going to buy from the auction house. There's nothing like this. These items you can only farm with in-game currency, which is, for me personally, really, really nice. None of the crafting stuff can be bought. That is straight up just you farming, you being smart, making good decisions. I'll end here on the graphics because I personally don't mind these graphics. So I used to play a lot of Torchlight 2 and I actually have really fond memories of it. It was one of the first ARPGs I played alongside Titan Quest back in the days. After that, I kind of dipped into Diablo 3. So I kind of skipped the Diablo 2 thing, which is why I don't really necessarily think every RPG has to be this gritty skeleton dungeony thing. I don't really care about this, but obviously if you're more into that, this game is not going to be for you. Obviously you won't want to look at it, but I think this game doesn't look that bad. Honestly, I think it's very pleasant to look at. Some of the animations are way too bright. I'll definitely concede that. Overall, this is neither a plus point or a minus point. It's just a stylistic choice. I personally think it's fine. I care more about the systems anyways. But overall, what's my conclusion on the game? Well, I will say that the gameplay is extremely addicting and very, very fast and fun. If you don't like fast-paced gameplay, if you're somebody who is more after very, very meticulous gameplay, maybe more like bossing style. You do have bosses in this game and they are a lot more slower paced, but overall a lot of this game will be around speed. So if you like something like Old Path of Exile, you're going to enjoy that. Otherwise, probably not. The character customization is vast and intricate. It's really, really fun. If you like tinker around with these kind of systems, you're going to love it. And the crafting, the items, the chase uniques, it's really, really fun. It's well made overall. As for downsides, the UI is pretty weak. It is, after all, a mobile game. Apparently, it's something they will fix pretty soon because after they saw how big this PC port actually blew up, which I think they didn't really expect, and partially bad monetization, the whole pet stuff. As much as I can look over it because I just enjoy the game, it is there and it is kind of annoying. I wish it wasn't the thing, but it is what it is. So yeah. Really fun game, has its weaknesses. I can't really say much more about it. I just enjoy it. I would just try it out, honestly. It's free to play. Why not? Otherwise, just ditch it. Yeah, that's basically all I had to say. See ya. And yeah, I will be making some videos about Torchlight Infinite. If you can't handle it, I totally understand. If I subscribe to somebody and they play a different game, it's kind of weird. Just know that I will be back to Path of Exile, but if that's a deal breaker for you, I totally understand. That being said, if you want to give the character a try, I will equip you with some knowledge. But with that being said, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.